Yay! That was much smoother.
All right. Is it up on yours? So
It says webinar is now streaming live.
Fantastic. So hello to everybody on Facebook who's watching us on Facebook Live. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes here. So we are glad that you are joining us. I'm also going to open it up to all of our guests who are ready to go in Zoom. So it's always fun to open it up and watch the attendees stream in. So that should be
it is fun.
A good time. So Amanda, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for week 2 of this. I think it was really good last week. We're not going nearly as long this week, so that'll be good. 1 hour instead of 2, so I think that'll be good. Everybody who's peeking in right now, you get a sneak peek at 2 of our presenters. So Laura Ruggles is here and Janet Taylor is here hanging out with us until we get things started. If you are an attendee on Zoom and want to join the chat, you are more than welcome to do that. We'll talk about this in just a second, but on the chat, there's a little selection down at the bottom that just says chat with the text box. You click on that, it'll pop up on the right side. And then if you select sending your chat to everyone in the meeting, then everyone will be able to see it. So if you're jumping in there, welcome. Tell us who you are, where you're watching from, and all that good stuff. And yeah, we should be good. All right, so about 2 more minutes and then we will jump in and get started with everything. So just say hi, and if you're on Facebook Live, you are more than welcome to jump in there and tell us where you're watching from as well. All right, so Amanda, what was the highlight of your day today? Hanging out with your kids and doing work and everything else?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it was the cookie that I ate in secret in the kitchen. If I'm being perfectly honest. It was kind of a rough day. You know, I think everyone, you know, this is like week 2 and it was kind of gloomy here, so we couldn't get outside in the morning, and I don't know, you know, it was okay. It was all right. But we also played with kinetic sand, which is very fun.
Always a great thing
to play with. So I would say that would be second to the cookie. What about you?
It was actually nice outside here. So I worked outside a lot. My kids were outside a lot of the day. So just getting some fresh air was really nice. So that was definitely the best part of it. Second best part is the webinar right here. So
well, yeah, of course. I mean, the webinar is the first best part, but it hasn't happened yet. So
True.
You know.
But, I think we're just about ready to get started here. So let's go ahead and jump in and we'll get going. We'll let a couple more people jump in on Zoom and then we'll be ready to go. So
perfect. The guy sounds like the podcast guy. It is the podcast guy.
I am the podcast guy. So in case you don't get enough of me during the week, listen to me for another hour tonight and it'll be great. All right, so we will go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1. All right, hello and welcome to everyone who is joining us for week 2 of our webinar. My name is Tim Bogatz, the podcast guy, and I will be one of your hosts for the next hour tonight as we spend some time listening and learning and chatting with some other art teachers. And joining me throughout the night is Amanda Hine.
Hello, everybody. I am not the podcast guy, but I was on the podcast this week, so double dose.
Yes. So people are going to be a little tired of us by the end of tonight, but that's okay. We're still doing some good things. So before we dive into the presentations, though, we want to just share briefly about some updates on the AOEU website and some things we've published in the last week. So Amanda, you want to give us a quick run through there?
I sure do. Okay, so our content team has been really hard at work getting everything just responding to the situation. And so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. Let me see. Can you guys see that?
You're good.
In the website? All right, so cool. So I'm just going to flip through some of the articles that we have up this week that might interest you in doing this new online learning thing. So first up, we have 10 shows to keep kids engaged during school closures. These range from everything from things that are great for preschoolers all the way up to things that are great for kids that are in 12th grade. So some of them are free, so some of your students may have access to them. Some of them you might just want to use for your own family, so go ahead and check those out. We also have the best how to work from home tips. If you have never worked from home, which I'm assuming is most of you, this would be a great article to start with. Just some nice general tips of how to set up your space and just kind of get in the right mindset for working from home. Then we have how to create demo videos for your students. So if you know Sarah Krajewski, she's one of our writers and also does a lot with her students on YouTube and Instagram. And so she has a whole article about how to actually film videos in a very easy way. She shows you her exact tech setup. It's a really great article if you are wanting to make videos for your students. And then we have how to connect with your students using Zoom. So I know at my kiddo's school, they've been using Zoom a lot. And if you've never used Zoom, this is a really nice how-to guide, how to create an account, how to set up a meeting, and how to actually execute a meeting. So that would be really great if you are sort of at that step of wanting to actually directly engage with your students. And then finally, just today, we published how to use Google Classroom in the art room. And Abby Shukai made this video / article mashup, and it is full of video tutorials about how to use Google Classroom as an LMS. If you don't know what an LMS is, it's a learning management system. So this means something where you can go and your students can go and you can house everything in one spot. So all of your curriculum materials you want to push out, lessons, resources that you want to push out to kids, you can actually use Google Classroom for that. Your school might have their own things. Some people use Schoology. There are a lot of different ones that people use. But Google Classroom is great if you don't have one already, or if you need something that's more user-friendly and your district is open to that. And this is really great because Abby goes through everything from creating a class, understanding how it works, setting up an assignment, all the way through using an LMS to push content out to your kids. And just as a reminder, if you are a Flex member, you have access to tons and tons, hundreds of resources and lessons and videos and even assessments that you can download and then upload to your LMS or whatever platform you're using to interact with your kids. You can also just, email them out if you want. But Abby actually goes through how to do that in this video right here. And just a reminder, AOU is running some deals. So this is honestly made to be purchased by districts for you on your behalf. And actually it's a lot cheaper than textbooks would be. And so a lot of administrators are really excited about it. We will drop a link in the chat if you're interested in talking to somebody about getting Flex in your district. But it is available if you can't, make that work with your administrator. It is available for you to purchase on your own. And right now, because of the coronavirus, we are having $150 off an annual subscription for individual teachers. So again, we'll drop that information in the chat for you if you want to check it out. But Tim, do you want to talk about what podcasts we produced this week? Because those also are super relevant, something people might want to listen to.
We hope they're super relevant, at least.
We hope so.
So on Tuesday, Amanda and I, as she mentioned, had a little bit of a conversation about trying to get your life at home organized, which honestly is something that I still am trying to get a handle on. So I think that will be really helpful for people. And then just today, Nick Hahn on the Everyday Art Room podcast discussed some really good distance learning options for your students. So we'll have links to both of those in the chat, or if you just go to the AOEU website, you can find everything that Amanda just went through there.
Perfect. And if you weren't here last week, I also want to remind you, you can watch last week's webinar on the AOEU website. We can drop the link for that as well. It's actually an article in our magazine. You can watch the first one there, or you can go to the coronavirus page on the AOEU website, and there's a whole bunch of resources, articles and podcasts and outside links, and there's also a place for webinars, so you can find it there as well. Last week we talked about general tips for teaching online. We talked about some specific tech platforms you can use. We talked about specific lessons, and we wrapped up with some mindful activities that you can push out to your students as well. So if you haven't watched it, and we talked to Libby, who is actually teaching in Seoul, South Korea, and has been doing this for a really long time, and she just shared some really cool projects that she was doing with her kids now, 6 weeks in. So if you weren't here last week, I highly recommend you go and check that out when you have time, which we all seem to sort of have a lot of, and I don't know, it's a weird time.
Yeah, somehow we have a lot of time and no time at all
Yeah.
At once. And then just one last update. I'm sorry we're flooding you with all of these updates, but we put out a lot of content in the last week. But those of you that are Flex members, Amanda just talked a little bit about that, but we had 3 new collections come out a little over a week ago, 19 new lesson plans, like 50 some resources, almost 20 assessments in there. There's just so much there, and it almost all translates really well into distance learning. And again, if you're not a Flex member, you can contact us and we'll get someone on our team in touch with your district and see if we can get some help paying for that. So we'll post another link in the chat there if you want to check that out. Okay, now before our presentation, a little bit of housekeeping about the webinar tonight and how things are going to be running. Amanda and I will be with you all night, and we'll be bringing on guests to share some of their best practices. We'll have downloads available for you, and we'll make sure that we link all of those in the chat throughout the night. And speaking of the chat, as we're doing a lot, because we want you to interact, we want you to talk to people. That is the place where the conversation is going to be taking place. If you're on Zoom, you should see it open on the right side of your screen. If it's not there, click on the chat button down at the bottom to make it pop up. There's a little drop down there right above where you type, and just make sure you're sending your messages to everyone so everyone can see those. And Lindsay Moss is back this week sharing all the links that we're talking about, downloads, articles, podcasts, everything else you need to find will be in the chat there. And like I said, we want you to join in the conversation. So talk to all the other art teachers that are in there. If you're on Facebook Live, our very own Abby Shukai is going to be facilitating the conversation there. Leave comments, leave questions throughout the night. And wherever you are participating, Facebook or Zoom, ask questions of the presenters. If you have something you want to ask, leave a comment, put it in the chat, and one of the hosts may, if we have time, be able to ask that during the Q&A session with each presentation. And then finally, we will be recording this entire webinar. You can access it after the fact. We'll send an email to you with the recording. It'll be on the AOEU Facebook page for the next few days, and it'll be on the AOEU website as well.
Perfect. All right. So before we dive in, I just want to give you an overview of what you're going to see tonight. So first, I'm actually going to be sharing some tips about creating a schedule to help you work from home in a way that's effective and manageable. And then we're going to have Laura Ruggles come on and share a quick project that you could do to really help connect with your students or just connect with your own love of art making. We're going to hear from Janet Taylor, one of our writers, about creativity and sort of how to connect with students during this time. And then we're going to finish up. I'm super excited. We're going to have Jenna Kelly, who's one of our admissions counselors here, who's really big into mindfulness. And she actually has 6 activities that you can push out to your students for both kiddos and older teens. And if you want to stick around after the webinar, she's actually going to lead anybody who wants to through a mindfulness practice. And she did this at our AOEU retreat last summer, and it was like one of the best hours of my life. It's not going to be an hour, but you can stick around for a short mindfulness activity with Jenna after the webinar if you are feeling like you need that today.
Awesome. All right, now my favorite part of all of these webinars is running polls. So I have a poll for everybody. If you're in Zoom, you can see this soon and check it out. If you're on Facebook Live, just type in your answer for us. But the question is, compared to last week at this time, how are you feeling? Are you feeling a lot better? Are you feeling a little bit better? Things are about the same, or are you honestly feeling just a little bit worse? Okay, I love seeing the responses roll in. This is exciting. So again, compared to last week at this time, how are you feeling? A lot better, a little bit better, about the same, or are you feeling a little bit worse? All right, I'm going to give everybody just a little bit more time to answer that, and then we have like almost everybody voting, so this is pretty exciting. So large sample size, we like it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the voting here, and it looks like most people are feeling a little bit better. even split between things are about the same and feeling a little worse, honestly. But there are a few people who are feeling a lot better. So good for them. I wish we could all say that we're feeling a lot better, but I think we know this is going to be a little bit of a process, like getting used to this new normal. So Amanda, how did you answer that one?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say much better. I think I'm a little bit in between, a little bit in much. I feel like we're getting into a groove here, and but then there's new challenges every week also. So it's kind of like not as exactly easier, but like different hard, maybe is how I'm feeling.
Well, I mean, there's just so many things that we need to balance. And like you said, for every like part of this that we've had a chance to experience, there are also new problems, popping up. And so we still figure out what this new normal is going to look like. But I think everybody has started to find some resources that can help. And, I think we're slowly getting there when it comes to balancing home life and balancing teaching. But I guess speaking of teaching, I want to just shout out everybody, send a big thank you to everybody who is sharing lessons and choice boards and videos and recording themselves teaching and everything that we're doing to just support your fellow teachers. Like, we're in this together, and all of that stuff is incredibly helpful. Now, Amanda, I know you're going to present soon, but before we get started, can you just send out a couple of reminders of what we're going to see over the next hour?
Sure. Yep. So like I said, we're going to see 4 different presenters. Just a reminder, everybody's doing the best they can with where they're at and what they have. So just a reminder to show everybody grace in the comments to our presenters. Our teachers are a pretty supportive group, but and also think about what is possible for you at this point. There may be some things that come through from teachers who are a little bit ahead of you in the process or have figured some things out and you're not quite ready to do that. So take what you can use, put the rest in your back pocket or discard it, yourself best. And just remember, we're looking at kind of a long journey, and AOEU is going to be here for you. So our teachers, like I said, are really used to supporting each other, and we are really happy to be part of your support system.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now I think we are ready to kind of dive in. So Amanda, you're up first tonight. So what can you tell us about your presentation?
Well, so I really like systems and figuring out big projects and logistics. I think my secretary about fell off her chair when the art teacher walked in on the first day and was like, "Do you have a label maker for my room?" So I really wanted to nail down my family's schedule, and it's been something that's really been helpful for us. And so I created some downloads that I'm excited to go through, and a process that I think will help other people sort of get on top of sort of managing the big picture so that they can be the best for their students, and if they're parents or if they're a partner of someone, be the best for their family as well.
Cool. That sounds awesome. I know everybody's looking forward to it, so let's turn it over to you. It is all yours.
Okay. So before diving in, I just want to have a couple of disclaimers. I've been working from home for about 6 years by choice, not by necessity. And working from home comes with its own unique set of challenges. So usually if you would all of a sudden be working from home, you would expect some sort of adjustment period, and you would expect yourself to need to get ready for this new adventure. And we've all kind of been thrown into that. And so it's really important to give yourself some grace, and it's really important to give yourself some time. And it's really important to remember you don't have to do everything right away. I personally have been living this for the last couple of weeks, and just today I found time to exercise. And that's unlike me. I'm a regular exerciser, but I just couldn't figure out how to do that right away. So I'm going to go through some strategies and tips, like I said before, with the whole webinar and this presentation especially. Take what you can use now, keep some things in mind for later, and kind of see where you land. So if you missed the beginning, just a little bit of, or missed last week, I should say, just a little bit of a overview of where I'm coming from. I'm currently working at home. Usually I work part-time, probably more like the hours that you might be working when you're teaching from home. I don't know, maybe some of you are working 50, 60 hours a week, I'm not sure. But I'm kind of working about 40 hours a week now, usually about 30. My husband's working full-time from home. And then we have a school-age kiddo who's in first grade who has kind of a robust amount of work to do. And then we have a 3-year-old. So we kind of are running the gamut of all these different things. So I'm going to share some strategies today. If it's just you at home, I think there are still some universal things that you can take away, or whether it's you and a partner, or whether it's you and your kiddos and your dogs and everything else. So Why would you want to make a daily schedule before we kind of jump in here? There are kind of 4 reasons, I think. One is that when you have a schedule, everybody knows what to expect. And we know in our classrooms, when the expectations are clear, behaviors improve. So I've noticed with my own kids, when I introduced this schedule, things kind of took a turn for the better because they knew exactly what to expect. The day is not just stretched out in this like depressing blob. And especially if we're looking at weeks and weeks of this, it's a really good way to kind of stay on top of things. There are clear times to work. There are clear times to rest and eat and play. And if you are a parent of small kiddos, this alleviates your children asking for snacks all day long, which I think is a huge bonus. It also makes sure that you can get your tasks done so that you can relax. Like I literally schedule in relaxation time and I say from this time to this time, I'm going to watch a show, right? Right now, my husband and I are rewatching The Office. It's helping my mental health and I have blocked off time for that. And then the last thing is it gives you things to look forward to. So you might schedule yourself so that you can take your kids on a hike. That might not be something that you could do if you were in the classroom. And so it's also kind of an opportunity, if you can flex your time a little bit, to get out and do some interesting things. Of course, staying 6 feet away from all other hikers. All right. So how do you do this? I have some downloads I'm going to screen share in just a second, but I want to say before I go through this method that you have to carve out time to do this. And I know that's really hard right now because there seems to be endless hours in the day and also not enough time to do anything because you're trying to do all the things at once. So carving out this time, a couple of hours, I'm going to be honest, is going to pay dividends in the long run. So we know that we can go in when we teach a class and we can wing it and it's fine. And kids are sometimes happy, but if we go in with a really specific plan, what is our anticipatory set? What do our demos look like? What time is there for movement in the classroom? It's going to be the class is going to run a lot smoother. So I kind of think of this as like a prep time, and I challenge you to do the same. Every night I sit down for 15 minutes and I kind of prep what the next day is going to look like, and it makes the next day run so much smoother. All right, so I am going to go ahead and screen share. This set of downloads is going to be available in the webinar. We can drop stuff in the chat. So the first download is called How to Build a Schedule That Works for Your Family. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to determine your overall structure. So do you work better with a very specific set of things to do, or do you work better maybe with a less structured daily checklist? Like we have to do these 4 things. Once you have that nailed down, then you can move to the next step. And there are kind of 2 tracks here. So the first thing I'm going to have you think about is determining your schedule. Are there specific times that you need to be online to teach that are non-negotiable? Your district says you have to teach from 9 to noon or whatever. And then what else can you fit in, or where else can you fit in other work-related tasks? So prep time, giving feedback, if you're being asked to assess students, can that be more flexible, or does that have to be during certain times? The next thing is if you live with someone else, if you have a partner, when does your partner need to work? In my family, my partner, my husband is home and he is, working from home full time, but he has to be online basically during work time hours. He can flex it a little bit. He can do an hour at night or an hour early in the morning here and there, but pretty much he has to be online while my schedule is a little bit more flexible. Then if you have kiddos, you can come to this other side and you are going to have to compile all of their distant learning assignments. So if your kids are old enough, which pretty much is any kiddo, involve them as much as possible. Like you shouldn't have to do this on your own. They should be able to take some responsibility. If you have family meetings, this would be a great time to talk about that. But what do they have to do? And when do they have to do it by? Then you can sort of break that learning into daily tasks, right? And map out what they need to complete each day with their help, or set a goal for maybe how much to finish in a certain amount of time. And then you're going to determine the amount of time you need. So once you kind of figure out what you have to do each day, you can figure out how much time do you need to devote to that. For my first grader, it's about 2 hours a day. Okay, so I know about 2 hours out of every day, I need to schedule in that time for him to complete that work and for me to help him complete that work, because let's be honest, a first grader is not very self-sufficient with distance learning. And then finally, you create your schedule. Now this sounds easier than it is. It is like a puzzle. And the second download that we have is actually a sample daily schedule. So again, this is not going to look the same for everybody. It's going to be specific to when your kids wake up or when you wake up or if you live by yourself or with someone else. But I wanted to give you an example example of what our day might look like. And sometimes our day looks a little bit different than this, but in general, we have sort of 2 blocks for school in the morning, or I should say before we have a rest time. We try to get outside in the morning. And then obviously we schedule in things like snacks and lunch so the kids know when to expect that. There's also some free playtime scheduled in there, and then a rest time. And that rest time is really important. I would say no matter what age your kiddos are, scheduling in a block for them to rest and for you to rest or work is really important. Over on this side, you will see, well, there we go. I have parent 1 who is a little bit more part-time and parent 2 who is a little bit more full-time. Again, if you are both full-time, 40 hours a week, you may have to bleed into the weekends or do some creative things around evenings or mornings. But this makes it really easy to see who's working, who's on kid duty. Here during this read and rest time, parent 1 is working at the same time. Maybe this parent is working nearby with earplugs in. I showed my team today on a Zoom call that I have like a mega pack of earplugs because we live in a 1,000 square foot house. So we're making it work. We also schedule in time for helping, chores, doing something nice for someone else. And then what I found to work for our family is to have sort of a flex period at the end of the day where if we need to finish school, we can do that. If we need to get back outside, we can do that. And then we might do some sort of special activity. And so, one thing that I've developed for my kids is sort of like an early finisher activity. And I call it the mystery box, and I came up with it in desperation, in my basement that my son made. And, once a day, I just stick a little piece of paper in here with a little prompt that they can do usually without me, although sometimes I schedule in fun things like bake brownies or make cookies or whatever. So this says make an invention out of, and then I have a bag of stuff ready to go to give them. So just like you would do in the classroom with a lesson, you can sort of have these activities ready to go, and you can sit down and brainstorm them. I'm going to screen share one more time here because we also, I just want to show you, have a download that you can use that's called 10 mystery box activities. You can cut out the ones you want and throw away the ones you don't. And you can make your own mystery box at your house if you want. This is 10 to get you started. And of course, you can make up your own too. Sometimes I find random things in our basement and those become mystery box activities. My kids love to look through my old toys, or like I have my old rock collection that they love to look through. And so that could be a prompt. Just get creative with it. Our teachers are creative. I'm sure you have a lot of other ideas. So remembering that this is going to take some time, but it's very worth it in the long run. I would encourage you to find some time this week to sit down, or maybe your goal can be before the next week starts, and sketch out a rough schedule for your family. You might live with it for 2 days and decide to completely turn it around, but at least it will give you a place to start.
All right, that was awesome, Amanda. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Yeah, details are great. I have a very important question for you.
Yes.
So my kids want snacks approximately 10 to 12 times per day. Like, can you fix the schedule to make like a lot of snack times?
Yeah, so I've been following, I think it's called Feeding Littles and Kids Eat in Color on Instagram. This is where I am getting this philosophy from, but we just schedule them in. Like the kids know, it's just again, it's an expectation. We have front loaded. You get to eat at breakfast. You get it. It's not like we're starving them. You get to eat at snack. You get to eat at lunch. You get to eat at afternoon snack, and you get to eat at dinner. You get to eat 5 times a day. And we always make sure to have like a protein involved in their snack. So it might be apple with peanut butter or cheese and crackers or something, so that it's filling. And if they choose not to eat at a mealtime, that's totally fine. And they know they can eat again at snack time, and they honestly don't ask. Sometimes if they get hungry, like I'm not militant about it. If they're super hungry at 1:40 and they know snack time is 2 and everybody's crying, like, yeah, we'll have a snack at 1:40. But then we're not having more snacks again till dinner. So, and bedtime snack. They eat 6 times a day. So, but they know that those are the 6 times. And that's when they can have snacks. So it really is cut down on the whining and the questions, which has been really good.
All right, very nice. And then one other question for you from the chat. What about single parents? What advice would you have for them?
That is really hard. I would say if you are a single parent or you are solo parenting, I know some healthcare workers, are their necessity and they can't be with their families. And so it's not the same situation, but it's semi-similar where you're the only one home. I would say in that case, you probably need to be realistic about what you can and cannot do and communicate that with your administrator perhaps, or with your students. I would look for any help you can get, any other teachers who are making videos, any other teachers who are putting out content. I've advocated for this in maybe 2 different places now, like take whatever shortcuts you can, use paper plates, make your kids wear the same pajamas all week, look for other ways to make your life easier. And then the last thing I would say is like, don't just cut yourself some slack. If your kid needs to watch 3 hours of TV someday, like that's fine. Like this is a short period of time that we need to get through and it's going to be okay. And also having things maybe that are super engaging, you can pull out when you absolutely have to work. My toddler 3-year-old loves kinetic sand. They like water beads, like anything you can get that's super engaging and maybe special. If you have a little one and you're a single parent, you can do that. If you have an older kiddo, I would say just be super upfront about the expectations that like you have a job to do and they're going to need to find something else to do, and tell them when you're going to reconnect with them after you're done teaching.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda. We'll give you a quick break right now. I'm going to bring on Laura Ruggles. Laura is an art teacher in Stanton, Michigan, and she's going to join us just really briefly to share an awesome project that she's working on with her students, but also one that's open to anyone, like one that you can share with your students if you are looking for another opportunity for them. So Laura, welcome. And can you tell us just a little bit about your project and what you're doing with it?
Sure. I've been teaching for over 30 years. I have a daughter who's studying to become an art therapist. So we have a lot of conversations about art and mental health.
Yeah.
And so when our school decided to close 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of conversations in terms of what can we do for our community, for our students. And so with the both of us talking, we decided that we really wanted to create something where people could create an emotional response to what was going on. We knew a lot of resources were being shared out. We knew a lot of people were, especially like on this site, people sharing lesson plans and everything, but we wanted to give people an opportunity to scan themselves, say, where am I at today? And create a work of art and send it to us. So it was really that simple.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, can you describe a little bit more kind of what you're having students do or what you're asking them to do?
So I've created, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. I created a Google Sites that has the basic information there. I've also created a Facebook page and a Google slideshow. So teachers can share that slideshow and then add content to it if they want to. But basically, we are just pushing this out to the community and giving them a PO box to send it to. And I'll share that with you now.
Yeah, that'd be
what
great.
that looks like. Okay. So maybe.
It always takes a minute for it.
Yeah, hold on a second here. I had them ready to go. Are you seeing? Okay. So, can you see my screen?
Yes, we are seeing.
Very good. So this is a Google Sites, and I just have kind of my mission statement at the top where we just wanted to give people an opportunity to respond from the heart. We really wanted students to scan themselves, the community members, say, where am I at today, and create in response to that. So here is the Google slideshow that staff can, or teachers can actually download and share, and there are prompts on there as well. This is the address. I created a PO box in our local town to grab those out of. And I did that, but it's kind of tricky right now because we're on lockdown. So getting those opportunities to actually do that has been a little more difficult, but nonetheless, that is there. At the very bottom, I am adding the postcards daily that I receive to this slideshow here. And I've really enjoyed the variety that's been coming in. So that is available at the bottom of the Google site. The next page over is also the resources. Like I thought, there might be families that struggle, like, where do I begin with something like this? So just some children's resources, and then some other resources that maybe even adults might want to take a look at. And then each day I am trying to create my own postcard in response to how I'm feeling. So not necessarily techniques, but more about how is my day going and what am I having to deal with? It's just my husband and I, my kids are grown. And it's a different feeling than what a lot of you are dealing with right now. But, you know, how am I responding to that? And I'm providing those video resources as well. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you can talk a little bit as you're going through this about why you think, you know, learning like this or projects like this are really important right now.
Yes. In my classroom, one of the things that, and I think we're all struggling with different types of behavior now, more so than we did even years ago. And so one of the things that I really emphasize is let's talk about how we're feeling today. Actually, when I take attendance, I ask my students on a scale from 1 to 10, how are your resources today? Are you sleeping? Are you hydrated? Are you angry? And they give me that number. And it's been really interesting. I've had a lot of students reaching out to me now and asking me through email or texting, Mrs. Ruggles, how are you doing? How is your number today? And I respond back to them, how is your number today? How are you doing? And so that was my biggest concern, is providing an opportunity for these students and the community to check in again with themselves and respond to. I think it's critical right now. There's a lot of things to keep us busy, but I think we need to really take the time and say, how am I today? And what do I need to do to get through this day and to get through this very difficult period without necessarily an end in real sight, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. And then another question for you too. Can you talk a little bit more about those prompts, like what teachers can share with their students and how they can get them started on this?
Absolutely. Are you still able to see my screen?
No, you're back on. So
okay, hold on a second. Sorry about that. All right, so then here. Okay.
Oh, we got you now.
Got me now? Okay.
Yep.
First of all, I want to go back to where do I begin? Because we just started to brainstorm, like, what is a postcard? And a postcard is something you talk about in terms of, you know, checking in with somebody or sharing a beautiful destination. You know, what is the purpose of a postcard? And so that idea of checking in and sharing is kind of the foundation for that. So that's kind of this where do I begin piece. These were just some things that I was brainstorming. I thought it might be interesting, for example, to play a piece of music that you respond to and just grabbing those materials and responding to a piece of music. Or, you know, what you could even abstractly, you know, what are your emotions feeling like? What's right in front of you right now? Where are you spending your time? So I've got a couple pages of these, and there's, you know, obviously we could all come up with a lot more of these. My thought was that people could, again, share this or make a copy of it and add their own content to it as well, if they wanted to share it with their communities or with their children or, you know, with their students in whatever way they wanted to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I guess just to kind of close up, to wrap things up, can you talk about, you know, your vision for the end of this? Like once you get all of these responses, all of these postcards in, what's the plan for all of these artworks?
Well, I'm super excited because already I have a ton that are starting to come in.
That's awesome.
And I love looking forward to that. You know, it really breaks up my day to make that plan to go get those postcards. But ideally, my thought is that it would be great to take those pieces and then publicly display them. Maybe start here locally, but then eventually I would love to see it maybe even travel, that we could, I think would be very easy to box this show up and send it on the road to different communities that might be interested in sharing it as well with their people. So that's kind of the ultimate goal. We'll have to see where it goes, but kind of excited about where it may go.
No, I think that's an awesome idea, and I hope that we can get a lot of people participating.
Yes,
so,
I'm excited.
Laura, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for those of you that are watching right now, we have it linked in the comments or in the chat, so you can go explore all those resources, all those ideas from her website, and see if that's something that will work for you and your students. So, all right, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, now our next presenter is Janet Taylor. Amanda, would you like to make the introduction?
Sure. Janet, I actually was blown away by Janet because I saw her at NAEA, and then we kind of nabbed her for some pro packs, and now she is writing for our magazine. So we're super excited to have Janet with us tonight. She is a big champion of teaching creativity in the classroom, and we're excited to have her here. So Janet, can you tell us kind of about your teaching situation and just kind of what your school looks like and what online learning is looking like for you right now?
Yeah, so Wow, it's a lot, right? So I teach 9 through 12 high school in the western suburbs of Chicago, and I teach a lot of different media. So when we found out as well that the schools were closing, what was that, 2 weeks ago? It feels like 6 months ago. We were kind of hearing the rumblings and trying to figure out what, this was like a couple days before we actually closed, right? We started hearing all these, on the East Coast, West Coast, what was happening. And we were trying to figure out, my colleagues and I, like, what do we do if this happens here? And so we started kind of looking at materials first. And I know I saw in the chat, and I know this is kind of an ongoing question a lot, is what do we do if we don't have materials and that kind of stuff. So I'll talk a little bit about that too. Our school is one-to-one with Chromebooks too. So we have Canvas is our LMS system. So our students are pretty used to that, but not everybody has internet. So there's been a lot of equity access things that we need to look at as well. And so that's kind of what started all of this. It was almost like we started in triage mode, right? So we were trying to figure out what is the first thing that we need to do. And because our school is so with the one-to-one, they're very aggressive on getting our students connected already through the e-learning. So we found out on Friday, and by Tuesday, our kids were e-learning, remote learning, whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of our situation.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit, I mean, since you've had to dive into the deep end here, can you talk a little bit about what you found that is working for you, some strategies or some ideas that the kids are responding to?
Yeah, so, it's been kind of a roller coaster for us. I think, trying to figure everything out too, and I know everybody's feeling like that. So my first step was to connect with my students. I think that it feels strange because we know our students, the class is the same, the students are the same. They have some understanding of, what's going on in your classroom, depending if you had them for a year or a semester. But then, everybody's lives just basically got turned upside down. So it's almost like you had the same class for a year and then you had summer off and then you started again. So it's like you have to reconnect and refigure out what's going on with everybody's situations, right? So some students have working parents at home that are working with them. Some students are working themselves still. Some kids are babysitting their siblings. Like, you have to still figure out what is the current situation for them at home. And I think, as Laura had said too, it's really important to figure out, like, how are they feeling? What's going on? And being able to connect that with their art, I think right now is pretty important. So my first step was to connect with my students. I asked them a bunch of questions to respond to me. I asked them to actually do a little video about themselves, kind of like how they're feeling, and also what kind of like junk food they're eating and what kind of Netflix they're binging on. Just to kind of get back into that mode, right? And it was funny because this happened on a Friday and we saw them on Tuesday, but it was like, even though it was a weekend, it felt so long that I was like really wanting to see their faces and hear their voices. So there was that need to say, like, hey, we need to connect. So that was my first thing. And then I started thinking, wow, my kids are also going to be doing 6 other classes on their Chromebooks. And I absolutely do not want them to have to do that for my class. I want them to be creating, and I want them to be using their hands, and I want them to think outside the box. Which is kind of what is like my foundation anyway for my classes, but this was especially so in this case.
All right, that's really cool. Now, I want to ask you, you talked about creativity and creating things, and I know you've come up with a lot of creativity challenges for your students. Can you talk about those a little bit? Like just what you've been asking them to do, what types of things that they're responding to?
Yes, so I'm going to screen share because I'll show you some of the stuff that I've been working on with them. I kind of cleaned up some stuff too, so I'll screen share.
And I saw a couple people in the chat ask what grade level Janet teaches.
9 through 12.
Yeah,
Yeah,
9th
high
through
school.
12th grade teacher in Chicago.
So can you see if I change tabs? Can you see this too? Can you see the creativity and COVID crisis as well as my?
Yes.
Okay. So some of you may be familiar with me on social media, and when this happened, like I said, my team, my colleagues and I, we went into that triage mode, and we made a creativity cache, like Google, a Google folder here. And you can see we started just like dropping everything we could into this folder so that we could all access it. And then we made this slide deck. So if you have followed me on social media, you probably have seen me link this. And I'm happy to share that, you know, to anybody. A lot of these are things that we either came up with on our own or we grabbed from the internet. So, you know, we try to give credit where credit is due. But here's a few of the ones that we've actually implemented so far. And like I said, it's only been you know, 2 weeks or whatever. So we'll see how things go. You can see there's my handle. So if you wanted to access that, you can. But I basically kind of broke these down into 3 different areas. So the first one is boosts. And that's like, I really wanted to get my kids just creating and getting it back into the routine of making. The second category is constraints. So that's more like design thinking categories, and then sparks, which are activities that they can do that will spark into a larger artwork. So, okay, so my first one with my boosts is my emojis that I had my students do. And it was a really great way to have them kind of check in with where they're at. That one of the little palette one is one that I generated on like a free website. So that's kind of fun to do. It looks like I already put on my COVID 20 pounds in it, but so you can see some of my student examples.
So Janet, I think we actually are not seeing.
Oh, shoot.
Tim, are you?
Can you see it?
No, we are not seeing that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on.
I'm sorry.
Let me try again. Stop share. It's like never a dull moment, right? Okay, let's try this.
Yep, there.
Yes.
Okay, this makes so much more sense now, doesn't it? Okay. So there's the 3 categories that I was talking about.
Perfect.
And here's my COVID 20 pounds that I put on with my emoji, you can see there. Okay, and so here's some examples of my students' work. Some did digitally, some did them drawing. They're just kind of a fun way to check in and see how they're feeling. And it was a really great way to say like, oh, they're maybe not doing so well. And so now I need to adjust my lessons or how I'm working with them. Oh, my National Art Honor Society kids made cookie emojis, so you could also ask them to do that. Another boost would be scavenger hunts or those like daily prompts. So this is like a COVID creative that you probably have seen. And then, sorry, my thing is in the way here, I can't see. But this, there we go. Okay, Mike Driscoll had made those PDFs on photo challenges. So I had my students do that. So you can see what they created with that. And then of course, all of our Art of Ed finds that you can go on and find their silly drawing prompts, visual journal prompts, the what is it? I did that with my own kid. That was really fun. So here's some examples of some of the student drawing prompts that you can see. The alien driving a car, draw a person with fruit for hair. And then we move into constraints. And like I said, these are design thinking and talking about imagination. I believe, Amanda, you might have a downloadable for this one.
Sure do. I don't know if you guys can see this, but we do have this unimaginable item creativity challenge, which is part of this webinar that you can download and push out to your kiddos in whatever way you want to do that. So
this is one I actually designed for the classroom, but it's a great way to kind of push out, like she said, to the other kids. Just getting them to think outside the box, create a coat for a chili cactus, help a short-necked giraffe reach the tree. And then they really have to actually design it and annotate it and give examples of what that might look like. So you can see they think about materials. This is also talking about choice and constraints. So thinking also about what kinds of factors play into what I need for my cactus, for example. Well, he's spiky, so how is the material going to snag on that? Or how can I get rid of materials available for that? And then paper repurpose is one I'm doing right now. Obviously, you can see this is with my jewelry metals kids. So this is a real bummer for them because, they were looking forward to doing metal smithing. And obviously they're not doing that at home. So trying to figure out ways to design for them. Again, there's this piece of me that goes, okay, well, how much of this do I need to push in my curriculum to make it absolutely fit to the T? Well, I think this kind of throws everything out the window, and we need to really look at what is the foundational purpose of what I'm teaching. So again, here's another one. They had to design a wearable object or a usable object using only paper. I was inspired by Tim Needle's post the other day about doing a mask and doing a TikTok. So I asked my students to do that and then also do it with like an artful pose or an interesting background or do a silly dance. And here's some examples of that I've gotten already. One of my colleagues, Marie Weston, has How to Build a Fort. And she came up with this idea because the kids are going to be obviously playing a lot of video games. So you need to think about what is the optimal materials to use for your fort. Here's an example of a student's already started to collect materials for that. And then sparks, I haven't gotten very far with these because obviously we've only been doing this for 2 weeks, but this is kind of more, I'm imagining implementing after our spring break. We have that next week, thank goodness. And then the idea behind these again are just, you're going to take like maybe a day to do this. And when I say a day, I really mean like the class period. We don't want to overload our students with extra stuff, right? So I say a day, meaning like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, that they can collect information around them that'll spark that interest into a deeper artwork later. So in this example, if you're watching Netflix, maybe listen to the soundtrack, or in this case, look at the palette that you see, the color palette, and collect that and then make an artwork off of that. This is another one using sounds that you hear in your backyard. So again, trying to get students outside, trying to get them moving and not stuck behind their computers all day. So collecting sounds that they hear, writing it down, maybe journaling, then they can write a poem and then maybe make an artwork off of that. So multi-step project in this particular case. Mundane activity, collecting, so documenting a creative activity. So baking a cake or cooking some pasta. And then there's all these different choices. That's the other big thing I think with working from home is thinking about what our students have available or what they're interested in. This is a great time to incorporate some choice. You still need to give a lot of scaffold and chunk assignments down, because if I just gave this and said, go for a week and I'll see you back on Friday, my kids probably would not accomplish anything. So you really need to break it down and kind of give that to them piece by piece. My other colleague, Janelle, is working on an art supply scavenger hunt. So somebody else asked about like polling parents to find out what kind of materials they have at home. This is a great way for students to go around the house and try to think about and wrap their head around what kind of materials they could use that are not your traditional materials. Collect it and then create an inventory. Think about their surfaces that they could work on and then create from that. So areas that I kind of broke down for you guys. Yep.
That's awesome, Janet. Thank you so much. Sure. Do you have any advice you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
Wow. I think that really just take a breath, because honestly, it is what we've seen, what we kind of guess, right, is that this is a marathon and not a sprint. Like I said, I would say start with a fast triage to kind of get yourself into it, but then realize that you can kind of slow down a little bit, take some breathers, and really, take time to do some yoga. Like you said, schedule that into your plan.
Schedule it in.
Your plan and get that in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Janet. That was
Thanks,
amazing.
everybody.
Lots of things going on in the comments if you want to jump in there. And I know teachers really appreciate all of those ideas. Oh, Tim, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry, trying to stay out of the way for Janet. Janet, thank you so much. There's so many awesome ideas there. We appreciate that a lot. Now, Jenna Kelly is here to talk about mindfulness. Jenna is an art educator from Vermont and currently works as an admissions counselor for the Art of Education University. So Jenna, welcome. And before we get started, can you talk a little bit about sort of what's happening in admissions right now at AOEU?
Sure. So we are so compassionate towards what our teachers are going through right now. We've all been K through 12 art teachers, and teaching is stressful enough without a pandemic closing down your schools. So our hearts really go out to our teachers, and please know that you can reach out to admissions with questions and concerns. We're really here to support you guys. We're thinking of you, and we want to do the best we can to be another source of support. Some of the things we're doing directly in admissions, we have waived the $100 application fee right now. So we know with uncertain times, uncertain finances can follow. So we've really tried to make applying, not a financial stress on our students right now. Another thing that we've thought about is that our teachers are not in their art classrooms. So they're not with all of the photographs and documentation that they normally would be. So we've created an image placeholder for your micro portfolio. You can use that for up to 6 out of your 10 images. And so hopefully, that'll save you a little bit of time and help you get through the application.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of great things to help students in these uncertain times. That kind of segues into what we brought you here to talk about tonight. So can you give us just a little bit of a preview of what you're going to be sharing with us?
Sure. So a little bit of background on myself. Outside of AOEU, I am a certified yoga teacher and massage therapist. So a lot of my time is around practicing mindfulness. So I came to this practice really out of trying to feel more connected, less stressed, especially being in the classroom for so many years. I just couldn't de-stress at the end of the day. So I really did come to some of these practices as a way to just live a happier life. And then I just realized that they're awesome practices to share with students. And I brought them into a school where there was a little bit of a poor school climate, and it really affected positive change, students being more respectful and kinder to each other. So I'm really excited to share some of these practices with you. I always like to say too that I always kind of present this as a choose your own adventure. So you can opt in or opt out. I always give that option to my own students. Some practices will work for some folks and not for others. So please take what you like and don't use what you don't like. I'm really interested in the science behind these mindfulness practices and how they affect our brains and our nervous system. So a lot of the things that I'm sharing today, even though they might seem like simple tasks, have some serious science behind them.
That's awesome. So I just want to remind you, if you joined us a little bit later after Jenna goes through her presentation, for those that want to stick around after we kind of officially close the webinar, Jenna's going to lead a short mindfulness activity. So if you feel like you need that today, you can stick around. And I wanted to also let you know, Jenna has put together some amazing downloads. There are 3 downloads that are mindfulness practices for elementary age kiddos or younger kiddos, and then 3 mindfulness practices that are available for older kiddos. But I would say don't feel limited by the titles we've put on them. You know your kids best and you know your students best. And honestly, I think all of these could work for a lot of kids in our lives, whether they're our own or our students. So Jenna, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Awesome, thanks. So I'm going to start with teenagers. All of the things I'm sharing for teens tonight are also great practices for adults. They might work with younger students, but like Amanda said, you know your students and their attention span and kind of their energy. So feel free to check the stuff out and use it as you will. So the first activity for older students and adults are gratitude journals. So these are super easy. You can either create your own journals or use journals that you've purchased. I always recommend that they're just like small and simple, so you can throw them in your bag and have them with you throughout the day. Super easy. And I often actually include the directions in them just in case you would forget, but there's only 2 directions, so you won't forget. So you write the date, you write 3 things that have happened in the last 24 hours that you're grateful for, and you try to be specific, and you do that every day. So science has showed us that our brains are really great at scanning our life for the negative or challenging things. We're actually not so great at scanning for the positive. So this is a really great practice to kind of retrain your brain to look for those positives. Another fun fact is that when you write down or record something that happened to you that was positive, your body goes through the same physiological effects that it did when you experienced it. So you're reliving that experience that brought you joy. So it's super simple. I actually used it in my high school classes as a transition. So when they came in from other classes, they would write their 3 gratitudes. When everyone was finished, we would start class. And it's also just like a great way to flip the switch if you're in a bad mood or your students are in a bad mood. And really, you know, at first it might seem a little bit challenging, but you do it a couple times and it starts to come really easy. So that's my first go-to one. This is a practice I use in my own life too, so give it a try. The next practice that I have is mantra meditation with mala beads. So if you have never used mala beads before, they come in all different sizes and materials. If you don't have fancy mala beads, you can also use Mardi Gras beads. We use these with the young kids too. And again, the beads are just a tool or a tool for the practice, but you don't actually need them. So if you would prefer to practice mantra meditation without the mala beads, you can just use your fingertips. So if you don't have anything with you today and you'd like to practice, you can do so there. So the whole point of using the mala beads for meditation is that throughout the day, usually our brains are trying to process a lot of information at the same time. So our brains kind of have all of these thoughts going in all sorts of directions. And with the mantra meditation, we want to take all the thoughts, bring it down to one thought. And then if you get really lucky, there might be like an absence of thought, which sounds really beautiful. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But it's really trying to bring all of these things that are going on into one single thing that you can focus on and help kind of calm your nervous system down. So the way to use these, if you do have mala beads, there's usually one larger bead at the bottom. That's the guru bead, and usually just start on the right side of that. And then you use your middle finger and your thumb to hold the first bead, okay? And you've already chosen your mantra, which all of this is described on the sheet, so it might seem like a lot now, but it's all written step by step for you. So you've chosen your mantra. Let's say that for right now, I just want to choose one word and it's calm. I hold the bead and I repeat either aloud or in my mind, calm. And then I move to the next bead, repeat the mantra, calm, calm. So you would be repeating that all the way around your beads, all the way to the end. And then if you'd like, after 108 times, if you just can't get enough, you can always go back around the opposite way, but traditionally you wouldn't cross over that main bead. And again, if you're on your Mardi Gras beads, just keep going because there's no end there. So this is a really great introduction for students to start meditation, because sometimes the idea of just sitting down and being quiet, it's very overwhelming for some people, and they don't really see the point, or it's hard to get into. So sometimes having something to focus on, having a tool to practice with, can help you get into the practice of meditating. So mala beads, using mantras is my second tool. And then my last practice for teenagers, creating mandalas with natural objects. So this is a great project right now for a lot of students that are out of the classroom, don't have access to all of their art materials. Mandalas are traditionally, they represent the universe. They've been used throughout many different cultures throughout history. And you can find forms of mandalas in nature. So like plants and animals. You can even find them in like weather patterns like tornadoes. Once you start finding them, it's really amazing to kind of see how expansive this idea is. And since there's so many different forms of mandalas in different cultures and traditions, there's lots of different translations for what that means. One of the ones that I really like is essence holder. And it connects really great with setting an intention or creating a goal. You know, in teaching, we're all about focusing on goals and working towards them, and goals and intentions are so interconnected. So with creating a mandala or an essence container, you can think of your goal or your mantra for the day, and then you can start to produce that mandala. So again, the directions are on the sheet. In the image, I use some crystals and rocks that I have at my house, but you can use anything from pebbles and leaves and pine cones. It's still snowy in Vermont, so you can make a snow mandala if you'd like to. But really, any objects will work, and you know, you can make them really simple or really elaborate. But it's such a grounding, quiet, peaceful practice, and I think students will really enjoy it. So that's another one for our older students. And then kind of switching gears to talk about younger students. So a lot of times our younger students have shorter attention spans, they're full of energy. Meditating in more traditional ways is a little more difficult, although there are some ways into that. But the first activity I have is creating a peace corner. So I actually have my little peace corner behind me. You can see a picture of it in the download. And really, you can do this in the classroom or in your home. In the classroom, I used it as a space that students, if they felt like they were elevated or just kind of needed to flip the switch again, it's a space that they could go to and do some quiet reflective work. Younger students, I had some more of like the gadgets that they could use to do breathing exercises or coloring or things like that. And the older students would journal, but we would collect objects either from nature or things that were important to us to add to the table. So this is a great thing to do with your family, with your kids. They can either create their own or you can create one as a family unit. But again, any objects from nature, pictures of your loved ones, pictures of your pets, just like a little area that is kind of sacred, but can also be a place that you can go have quiet time at. For little kids, I did create a list of 10 fun activities to do at your Peace Corner. I'll explain a couple of them. Some of them are very self-explanatory, but the first one's belly breathing, and belly breathing with little guys is so much more fun when they have a friend. So usually I have them bring like a little snuggle or something that they love. They lay down on their back, their snuggle gets to lay on their tummy, and you really just focus on deep belly breaths. So a lot of times we breathe up in our chest, it feels really restricted. We feel really anxious when that happens, but when we take nice, deep, slow breaths, and we can move that breath through the body, it helps calm our nervous system. So super fun. The kids love seeing like the little animal rise and fall on their belly if they're taking nice, deep breaths. So that's a super fun one. Another great one, I don't know if anybody has one of these fun contraptions, but these are awesome for breathing exercises. I used to do this in my classroom because kids always want to be the ones to take the deepest breath, right? So like you start with really slow and like you keep breathing, take the last sip of breath, keep breathing. Okay, let it all out. So super fun. Again, you know, with little kids, you kind of have to add an element of being a little bit more silly, but the practices are still there and they're still helpful. So that's another fun one. I also like to have different tools that bring in our senses, right? So a great way to feel more grounded is to think about your senses. What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? So I like to have things that make noise, but kind of like beautiful noise at the table. And so one of those is the Tibetan singing bowl. Again, this is something I use in my classroom to get my students' attention. I'm not going to play it loudly here, but you can stop like a loud classroom of high school students if you ring this bell, and they get obsessed with it because they want to learn how to play it too. So it's super fun, but it's also quite beautiful and, you know, a quiet activity that you can do at your peace corner. So. And then I would always like challenge my little students to like listen so closely and raise their hands when they can't hear it anymore. And, you know, someone's going to be the one that they can't really hear it, but they're going to just pretend they can, right? So then they raise their hands, and that would be how we line up at the end of the day. So bringing music onto the table is super fun. Just know though, like every student will want to play this. So you're going to have to figure out your own situation for figuring that out. And then tingshas are also another cute little thing you can have on the table. Again, you'll have to teach your student how to use them nice and peacefully, but beautiful kind of sounds to bring into the table. So again, natural objects, objects that bring in sound and just kind of like help deactivate from the rest of the day. And again, there's lots of other activities on that printout that you can check out. And the next activity for little guys is a finger labyrinth. So I have a ceramic one here that I made with students a long time ago. A labyrinth is a single winding path. So it's different than a maze, because in a maze you can kind of get to those dead ends and you get lost. And I'm awful at mazes. We have a huge corn maze in Vermont. I can never get out of it. So I much prefer these labyrinths because I don't have to stress out about getting lost. So you can create them out of clay. You can use like puffy paint to go over an image on paper. And actually we have a great printout in our download that you can use as a template to create your own clay labyrinth, or you know, use yarn and glue, use your creativity. But it's great for little kids because again, they'll sit down, they'll use their walking finger to go through the path. And again, you can invite in, like when they get to the center, they take 3 deep belly breaths, or when they get to the center, they think of their mantra for the day. But it's connecting emotion, like your mind and body connection, that sometimes they don't feel throughout the day. So it also is fun. And if you make a nice smooth clay one, it feels good and it's fun to do. So this is a great thing to actually keep in your peace corner or in your classroom. And it's a great like school-wide activity. So I had my high school students make these for each of the elementary classrooms as a tool that their teachers could have there. So super fun. So there's that labyrinth. And then the last activity I have for young kids, it's called Tratak. It's an object meditation. So Tratak is another Sanskrit word. It means to look or gaze. And traditionally, this meditation is done with a candle. So if you have little children, you can get one of those fun battery operated candles that's safe. Or if older students are doing it, they could use an actual flame. You can also do it with any object. So if you are going to use something that lights up, maybe just do that once a day, and then set that aside and challenge them to use other objects so they don't get too obsessed with staring at lights. But the basic concept is that you stare at the object as long as you can without blinking, and then you bring your eyes to a close and you try to see the after image in your mind. So it's great for boosting concentration. It's a great practice for strong, healthy eyes. And it's really fun for kids to like challenge themselves to see that after image. And there's also like that little bit of magic, like how does that work, right? So kids really do enjoy that, that practice. And again, all of the steps are written on the download. So And if you have any questions, of course, let me know, and I can give you more resources and more fun activities. But these were 3 that I thought would work for the little ones.
All right, that is awesome, Jenna. Thank you so much. A lot of great comments, a lot of great questions. People are loving everything that you did. Just one question for you, I guess, before we wrap up, though. You have all of these great ideas. Just what advice would you give, or how would you go about teaching these ideas to your students when you are doing distance learning?
That's a great question. I guess I would suggest first to kind of do your own research and start your own mindfulness practice. So students are really great at knowing when you are being authentic and that you really love something that you're doing. So I would say to try out some different things and see what works for you and see what you love, and then decide how to share that out with your students. If there's practices that you know you want to share, but you can't figure out quite how to teach it yet, there's so many free, wonderful online resources for yourself and for students in terms of mindfulness, yoga, breathing. So, you know, in terms of that, I would say definitely check out some resources online, do your research, but also find the practice that you love and then share that love with your students. And if you get really excited about it and you want to do videos, you could record some videos and share those out with your students, or do a mindfulness challenge. Kind of all of the ways you would think about sharing art online, you can do the same thing with mindfulness.
Okay, that is some excellent advice. All right, we will wrap it up there. That will be all for us tonight. Jenna is going to stick around and do exercise for anyone who wants to stay. But just housekeeping to wrap things up. If you missed part of the webinar, you want to watch it again, you want to read through the chat transcript, if you want to share it with someone, everything you need will be on the AOEU Facebook page, as well as the Art of Education University website. And if you pre-registered for the conference, you'll get an email with a link to the recording as well. And then just keep coming back to the AOEU site for lessons, resources, ideas, and whatever else you might need. We'll continue to do our best to navigate this situation over the coming weeks.
All right, Jenna. So like we said, if you want to go, this kind of concludes our webinar, but Jenna has graciously said she's going to stick around and lead a short mindfulness activity. So if you want to participate in that, you can stick around. And I think Tim and I are going to turn off our cameras and just kind of sit quietly also. So Jenna, I would say give it 30 seconds and then go ahead.
Great. And so before we get started, I'd like to mention that you will be laying down if you choose to for this body scan relaxation. So if you want to grab a yoga mat or a blanket or some pillows or bolsters, make sure that you have whatever you need to feel warm and comfortable. And we'll get started in just a minute here. And just while folks are grabbing things, so the type of meditation or guided relaxation that we're doing tonight is a body scan. So how it works is we're going to bring awareness to each part of the body to help it relax. And the point of doing this is that afterwards you can feel just really well rested and rejuvenated. So it's a great practice to also notice where we hold stress in our bodies. Sometimes I know I tend to like hold my shoulders up towards my ears or clench my jaw, and I don't even really recognize that I'm doing it. So body scans are a great way to notice that stress in your body, become more aware of it, and then you know, try to relax certain parts of your body. I think I can hear someone typing, so it might be Amanda, just to let you know. All right. Perfect. So go ahead and find yourself a comfy position, lying on your back. And make sure that you're comfortable. So you're going to be lying in like a Shavasana position. Your arms are relaxing on the floor. Your palms are facing up towards the ceiling. And you can kind of just let your feet flap open. And just start to bring your awareness to your breath. Notice if you're breathing just up in your chest, or you can elongate your breathing down into your belly. Make any last little wiggles so that you're comfy. Put your blanket on if you're cold. And then when you're ready, gently bring your eyes to a close. Your chin can now slightly tuck down towards your chest. And again, make sure that you're warm and comfortable. Become aware of your natural breath. Notice it as it flows through you. Notice the breath now in your belly, in your rib cage, in your chest. Become aware of the breath in your nostrils. Feel the breath flowing easily and gently through your entire body. Notice your breath, and now follow your breath. Now let your consciousness follow through your body as I guide you. Beginning with the right side of your body. Notice the sole of your right foot. Notice the whole right foot, lower leg, knee, upper leg, hip, right side of the torso, and shoulder. Notice your right arm, your right hand, thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger. All your fingers together. Notice your whole right hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, and shoulder. Notice the right side of your face. Feel your cheek. Bring awareness to your right nostril, right eye, eyebrows, temple, and ear. Awareness of the right side of the head and the crown of the head. Now bring your awareness to the whole right side of your body. Now move to the left side of your body. Stay awake and bring awareness to the sole of the left foot. The whole left foot, left lower leg, knee, upper leg, hip, and left side of the torso. Shoulders, left arm, hand, thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger. All the fingers together. Feeling the whole hand, wrist, left forearm, elbow, upper arm, and shoulder. Notice the left side of your face, left cheek, nostril, eye, eyebrow, temple, and ear. Feeling the whole left side of your head and the crown of your head. Bring your awareness to the entire left side of your body. Now bring your awareness to the back of your body. Awareness of your heels, calves, back of the knees, back of the thighs, buttocks. Awareness to the low back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, and arms. Feel the backs of your hands, backs of your arms, elbows, the hollow behind your neck, and the back of your head. Bring awareness to the whole back of your body. Now become aware of the front of your body. Stay awake and notice your two big toes. your second toes, third toes, fourth toes, and fifth toes. All of the toes together. Notice the tops of the feet, ankles, shins, kneecaps, and thighs. Notice your hips. Feel the navel, stomach, chest, collarbones, arms, hands, fingertips, palms of the hands. Feel the inner arms, the underarms, and the shoulders. Now bring awareness to your throat, your jaw, and your chin. Notice your tongue and your teeth and under your tongue. Notice the roof of your mouth and the back of your throat. Feel the inside of your cheeks and feel the outside of your cheeks. Your nose, your nostrils, and your eyes. Notice your lower eyelids, upper eyelids, eyebrows, space between the eyebrows. Feel your temples, forehead, the whole face, and back to the crown of the head. Bring your awareness to the whole front of the body. Noticing your whole front body, feel your fingers and imagine them moving. Now slowly begin to wiggle your fingertips, feeling every sensation. Imagine yourself surrounded by loved ones in your very favorite place on earth. Maybe you're in the mountains or trees, or a beautiful garden, or maybe you're at the ocean watching the waves come in and go. Maybe you're even in your very own home. Find your favorite place and notice the shapes, the colors, the sounds, textures, and smells that surround you there. A sense of deep peace, support, and safety fills you as this image fades away. Come back now into your body that's on the floor again. Notice your back body, the side of your body facing the earth. Feel all the places you're touching the ground where the earth supports you. Notice the front body facing the sky. Notice the vastness of the space surrounding you. Take a deep breath and expand wider into that space. Now notice your breath, how slow and calm the inhale and the exhale. And remember that this breath is always available to you. Go back to your fingertips and toe tips and slowly start to awaken them with movement. Feeling every sensation as you wiggle them. And then gently rock your head side to side. You can shake your head no and shake your head yes. And draw one more deep breath into your belly and exhale with a sigh. Now slowly roll over to your right side and rest in the fetal position. Pressing your left palm into the floor, flow up to a comfortable seat. Find a tall posture with your eyes still closed. Lengthen your spine. Again, take another deep full breath in and let it out with a sigh. Notice the effects of the relaxation practice. And with your eyes still closed, I'd like to offer you the metta prayer for peace. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. May all beings be free. And when you're ready, you can gently float your eyes open. Thank you so much for joining me for this guided relaxation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please leave any questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to further explain later. I hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenna.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.